Yuma, about 75 miles east of Yuma, and I come across one of these Border Patrol checkpoints, which I'm sure all of you have probably seen or been through. Who's been through one of those checkpoints? Probably almost everybody here. There's so many of them. And to go to Southern California on Interstate 8, you're pretty much going to go through a minimum of 2 on the way there and 2 on the way back. And so I pull up to this thing at 9:30 at night, and I pull up and I stop at the little stop sign like everyone has to. And I have my window rolled down just a little bit, and they began to hit me with a bunch of rapid fire questions of, you know, where are you going, where are you headed, what are you doing, are you a U.S. citizen, and they hit me with these questions, and my response was just, can I go, please? You know, I'd like to go. Can I please just go home? Can I go? And then they started looking at each other saying, secondary, secondary. And what secondary is the inspection area where they search through your car. And so I told him, I said, I don't want to go to secondary. I said, I'm not going to allow you to search my car. I said, I want to go. And basically, this went back and forth a little bit. Well, then they say, oh, well, you know, and this is after I'd refused to answer the questions and go to secondary. Then they said, well, you know, this dog is telling us that there are drugs in your car or a human being. One of those two things. They said it's either drugs or a body. Okay. And so I said, well,
I'm pretty certain there is a human being in the car.
There was a human being in the car behind the wheel, that's true. So I said to them, well, what does that mean? I said, what did the dog do? They wouldn't tell me. They wouldn't give me any information about it. And that dog was gone. You know, they ushered the dog off. I never saw that dog again, just for that short time. Well, I kept asking them repeatedly, bring the dog over and show me, or at least tell me what it did. They wouldn't tell me because they were making the whole thing up. I believe because they just didn't like the fact that I wasn't answering their questions and submitting to a search. So anyway, this went back and forth for over an hour. I'm sitting there. I'm surrounded. At one point I counted 12 Border Patrol agents around my car. So this is a little bit intimidating when you're sitting in the car, I had the doors locked, and I'm surrounded by these agents who are demanding to come inside the car and search my car. I'm telling them no, the 4th Amendment, the 5th Amendment, you know, I don't have to submit to this search. I'm just trying to go home. I'm on it. And I told them, I said, I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm on a business trip. Well, anyway, this went on for well over an hour. I think about 70 minutes. The DPS shows up, the Arizona Highway Patrol. And when the DPS showed up, they came and said, you're under arrest. And I asked him what I was under arrest for. And he couldn't give me a clear answer. He was kind of saying this, saying that, and confusing things. And then he told me, he said, well, you're coming out of this car one way or the other. And he said, we're going to search your car no matter what, so you might as well just let us do this, because we're going to do it anyway. And I said, well, no, I'm not going to let you do it. I said, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. But I'm not going to let you do it. You're not going to come in and search my car with my permission. And so basically the DPS officer came over to the passenger window. I'm sitting in the driver's side, obviously. And he had a little tiny hammer and some other little tool, and he was tapping on that passenger window. And he kept tapping on it for an extended period of time. And I told the DPS officer, I said, look, ask them to bring out the dog and show you, because I said they're not telling the truth. Well, the DPS officer seemed to think that was fair enough. So he asked the Border Patrol, he said, can we get the dog out here? And they told him no. Nope. And I said, officer, they're lying. That's why they don't want to get the dog back out here. But he said, well, you know, we're going to have to get you out of the car. You know, we're going to have to come into the car. So he goes over and he's tapping on that passenger window. They were giving me the impression, they were leading me to believe that they were going to break that passenger window. Well, that's not really what they had planned. Nothing's going on to my left. Tap, tap, tap on the right side. I'm sitting there, and a crowd of Border Patrol guys is to my left, and they said, cover your eyes, there's going to be glass from this window that's going to break, you know, this passenger window. So I cover my eyes. I close my eyes, bent forward, you know, kind of bracing myself for a little glass to come at me. I cover my eyes, I lean forward like this. Well, not only did that passenger window break, but at the exact same time, the window right next to my head broke. So both windows break simultaneously. I'm like this with my eyes shut, covering my eyes, and instantly I'm tased. So I'm sitting there like this, eyes closed, bent forward, glass comes flying at both sides, and instantly I'm tased. Well, when that taser hit me, and if you don't know how these tasers work, basically they shoot out 2 metal projectiles, and they embed into your skin, and they have wires going back to the taser. So that officer that's holding that taser, he can keep pulling the trigger and extending the duration of the flow of that 50,000 volts. You know, it was an X26 taser, 50,000 volts. They can keep that going, and boy, did they keep it going for a long time. They keep that electricity flowing, and I'll get into that. But I'm sitting there, instantly I'm hit with the tasers as the glass flies at me from both sides. Totally caught me off guard. I mean, I have my eyes closed, I'm covering my face. Well, my eyes sprung open at that point when that taser hit me. My first thought was that maybe the guy had let go of the hammer and just shattered my elbow, because I felt a sharp pain in my arm and I was totally paralyzed, because the taser paralyzed you. You can't control your muscles. So glass breaks, I'm like, you know, screaming in pain. Well, as I'm in that paralyzed position, just screaming in pain, a hand comes from the left, takes my head and shoves it into the broken glass shards that are left from where they had just broken out my driver's side window. So I'm not resisting at all. I mean, they told me to cover my eyes, that's what I did, and that was the last time I had control of my body, because after that it was just, ah! So my head is shoved into the glass, and I could just feel the glass, you know, tear into my scalp. Okay, my face was held there for a long time. The electricity never stopped. Next thing I know, the door swings open, and I'm basically thrown onto the ground. Okay, a Border Patrol agent steps on my head and just keeps his foot on my head with what felt like his full body weight, just standing on my head, and just the taser does not stop. Just the whole time I'm laying there, somebody's standing on my head, glass is shoving further into my head because I've got somebody stepping on my head, and just, and I'm just asking myself, what do I have to do to get them to stop? You know, I'm begging for mercy, I'm crying in pain. So then finally I thought, maybe they want me to be silent. You know, maybe that's what they're looking for, because I'm just thinking, what is going to make them stop torturing me? And so finally I went silent. Tried that for a while, because I mean, I'm just trying to see, why are they doing this to me? Why are they torturing me? I don't know what I have to do to get them to stop. Finally the electricity stopped after a while. I don't know how long it was, because when you're in that kind of pain, it seems like a really long time. So finally the electricity stops, and the guy takes his foot off my head, and I hear a chorus of voices saying, get up, stand up. You know, I didn't have the strength, so I kind of stagger up. They're picking me up. Blood was gushing out of the side of my head, because one of the deepest wounds was right on my temples. And so